assign somebody to moderate on your behalf and somebody who will record and report back to the plenary. Yes, Abidas, I see your hand again.
Yes, the French translation is still not available. They are asking us to allow them to translate, like to allow the interpreter to take the floor and French.
Come again.
Yes, I was saying that the French interpretation is not available. They are asking for permission, like the interpreter doesn't have the floor. He cannot interpret yet in French.
Okay. John, can you please help us to address that problem?
Have already sent the invitation link to. Sorry, I have sent the invitation link. Sorry, I was on mute.
Yes, John.
Okay.
I've already assigned the interpreters to the rooms, so it's just for them. There's a pop-up that they need to enter into the room and start the translation.
Are you able to connect, just communicate with them, just to provide guidance so that we move?
Maybe if to ask Abiba whether she's already joined.
Okay. And then we can then continue breaking the room. And as Agnes indicated, those other languages will remain in here for the ones that need interpretation. So over to you, John.
So we've opened up the rooms since we didn't see some names matching with what was registered. So if you're entering into a French room, you can just select the room you want and you can join. But we're also selecting others. I see people already joining into the room. So just select a room that you want and you can begin in it.
So kuna wase 84 hawajasainiwa rooms. What do I do with them? Oh, okay. So naona John.
Just to be clear, there are 2 English rooms.
موجود في يحكي عربي.
There are 2 English rooms, there's a French room.
لا موجود أشخاص بيحكوا عربي.
And
John, perhaps it's important to explain that for Arabic colleagues, please stay in the main room. Do not join any of the breakout groups, because we will still have the Arabic interpretation will be in the main room.
yeah, sure. Thanks for that.
Colleagues, are we winning with the breakout groups? John, are we winning?
Yes. Komotso, Ben is in the waiting room.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, people already joined. They are still joining into the different groups. We already have.
Is it okay also in French room? We are in French room.
Agnes, I thought you said French speaking remain in the main room.
French speakers can go either into the French room, or they can stay here, because we had a lot of French speakers registered. So they can either go into the breakout room in French, or stay here in the main room where there is going to be moderation into French.
Okay. Here, the moderation will be in English, but there is translation, so interpretation. So we're going to use that interpretation service on the main room. So, Isiva, you can go to the French room.
Oui, je suis dans la salle française. Je suis là.
John, can you help?
I'm in the French class. Isiba is in French class, yes.
Okay, it's fine. Colleagues, in the best interest of time, did everyone know so that we start with our questions? John, can you confirm when we should start?
Give like 2 minutes and then you can start.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, actually we are in room English 1 and we're wondering who will be the facilitator and also how long we'll have time to discuss in breakout room. So have you already assigned a facilitator or we need to agree among each other who will be the facilitator?
Thank you, Samira.
Yes.
Thank you, Samira. There is a facilitator coming for the group English
okay.
1. It's Benedict and Alicia. Should be in the group 1. Thank you so much for asking. I see that Benedict is having problems connecting into the meeting. So
yes,
he's in the waiting.
He's in the waiting room. He's saying that the meeting says that it's in full capacity, so he's unable to join.
Thank you, Alicia. So, Alicia, do you want to take over the moderation in English room 1?
Was it 1 or 2? I think it was 2.
So you are assigned together with Ben. You're assigned to English room 1.
1. Okay. All right.
And you can actually you will have to record the meeting yourself once you're in the breakout group 1. So that's easier for us to record the discussion.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Alicia.
So, John, hebu kama set view in such a way that kama kuna msi ana present tunamuona yeye distinctly mwenye anaongea juu hivi ina stream. Okay, much better. So now I think it looks much better on the stream. Yeah. Alafu watu wako waiting room tuwafanyie nini?
Guess we're now set. Maybe we could go on.
Kokomotso, are you there?
I'm here. Agnes, I'm saying, can you open that jumbo chat thing so that I can continue to the questions?
Okay, I can share this. I can share it if you want. I can share it in the chat.
Please. Yeah, yes.
Perfect.
So, colleagues, we'll start with the first question.
Sorry, Richard. Consto.
Yes, sir.
So we have a big challenge now. How can we enter in French room? For us, not possible. I don't know.
John, can you help Frank to go to the French room?
There are also Lassina Diana also.
Lassina and can you help Lassina and Frank to go to the French room?
Okay, Blassina. Let me find this Blassina.
Thank you.
Okay.
So new Blassina.
Thanks, Agnes. So, colleagues, the first question is: what are the good practices and experience at national, regional level on terrorized mainstreaming at the UN that the guidance note can take inspiration from? So if you can start with that.
John, so ni join breakout room gani kama nini? Kama mwenye ana stream? Wanaongea Kiarabu hawa watu.
Chadno?
Yes, colleagues. And the interpretation there.
I hope watu kwa stream wanaona hii.
Gráfico de euro para euro. Publicado por Chile. €1.
Yes, over to you. Asmero.
Yes. How are you? Good morning from Ethiopia. This is Asmaro from Save the Children Ethiopia Country Office. And then thank you very much for organizing this. And I think it's a very good opportunity for Africa, basically. I mean, to make sure that the child rights issues are actually mainstream in the UN system. And that's a very, very good move. Mine is to share experience, but that's at national level, not at the UN level. Maybe that will be much relevant for, to really consider as some good practice. In Ethiopia, we are working with the federal government of the ministry, but there is a mandated government ministry called the Ministry of Women and Social Affairs. We are actually working as strategic partner, and then obviously the UNCRC, the African Charter, they are actually those regional international instruments to really, advocate the rights of children in Ethiopia. And as part of that, what we do that to strengthen the system, to ensure the implementation of the convention, we support, the development of a mainstreaming guideline, child rights mainstreaming guideline. That's informed by the principles of children's rights, whereby all the relevant sectors are actually accountable. And then all sectors, all the government sectors and agencies are actually responsible to implement child rights, the UN child rights, their plans and programs. And there are very good progress on that. So for me, this experience is very important because it's a local to global kind of initiative, whereby the local experience, like the country's experience, can actually inform the UN system. So when governments actually, when the UN gives recommendation, for example, on the concluding observations, these issues can be included. One mechanism is mainstreaming the child rights issue across the sectoral programs. That's very important. The other is, I don't know, maybe, can I raise question?
Let's take, in the best interest of time, let's take input first, then we'll come to question if time permits.
Okay, thank you.
Any other input, colleagues? Yes, over to you. Hello? 98014, over to you.
Yes. Hello.
Okay, Peter, over to you.
Yeah, thanks so much. I'm Peter Ball, working for Toy South Sudan. Currently in Sudan. Thank you very much for the chance. Actually, the experience, the good practices and the experiences that are exist currently are quite different based on the approach and the situation, especially South Sudan. South Sudan is made up of most of the communities are the rural community, which is too difficult. Yeah, which is too difficult for the children to access the rights in most cases. So actually, and it is a new country that just is trying to connect with the world. So it's still difficult, though we have regional chapters and a lot of information, especially the UN charters and African charters and the rest of the charters. It's still difficult for us to access the children and to make sure that the stakeholders are able to cope with the current charters. So this is the biggest challenge. So going to detail, it can give us, maybe it can take us a lot of time, which is too difficult. So I hope it is good that we can be able to share a piece of information with you, so that maybe you get the context of Sudan, especially at the national level, and in South Sudan in particular, so that I share with you at the regional level, so that you can see the different appearance.
Hiyo mpya sijaicheza, lakini hii game nilikuwa nimeiva.
Okay, thank you. In Adam put colleagues on the first question, and then we'll move to the second question. Other 2-3 inputs.
ممكن نتحدث؟
Kokomotso, just sorry to interrupt. I see that there are still problems with the French interpretation. The light interpreter has not been assigned to the French channel. I think he's in the English channel. If he could, John, if he could be moved to the French channel interpretation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Eki, for that. Colleagues, other input. What are the good practices and experiences at national regional level on child Hello, 980104. You want to say something? Zeka, anything from you? Zeka, any input from you? Marineo, any input from you in terms of the experience? Sonia, do you have any inputs to share? Colleagues, are we still together? Can you hear me? Agnes, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, Erickson, yeah, over to you. Andrew?
Thank you. I had some network mishap, so I couldn't get the question clearly, but if you may paraphrase it for me.
Yeah. We have 3 questions. The first question, we just want to get the sense of what are the good practices and experience at national level, regional level on child mainstreaming at UN that the guidance note can take inspiration from. What are those practical good examples that are already there that the UN can draw inspiration from in terms of things that have been tested, good practice that has been tested, that has been tried, that are working, and other experiences in terms of mainstreaming.
Okay, thank you. So I'll just go to one that I've experienced it being implemented. It's called the best interest of the child. The best interest of the child. And I think it's one of the basic components that when we are relating with the children, it's one thing that actually can be mainstream to the issues related with the child mainstreaming. And I've seen this happening very well, especially in this context, the camp, the refugee context, because we have an influx of issues affecting the children. So the best interest of the child, which focuses on the issues related to the safety, child protection, and safeguarding. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The best interest determination, which is a process and a tool that's been used. Thank you very much for sharing that valuable input. Any other input, colleagues, before we move to the next question? Any other input? Okay, Agnes, you can just show screen the second question. We'll keep going back to all these other questions. The second question, what are the key barriers or challenges to child rights mainstreaming at UN level? and how do we think they can be overcome? This refers to local, national, regional, or even at international level.
Thank you.
Yes, Belly?
Yes.
Maybe I can go to, like, if you get one of the barriers that affect, especially the context that I am, is we call it cultural conservatism. Cultural conservatism is very rampant. As in, you get people who believe that things are done in a given way. But now when you come to this context, there are rules and regulations which direct the operations of the thing. So at the end of it, that is a challenge. When you tell this person we do things using this formula, the person is not that receptive. So at the end of it, the only way to address that is doing a lot of psycho-education, continued education to empower these people. They get used to what you practice so that it doesn't become an impediment when we are implementing the child mainstreaming. Yeah, I think that is what I can do. The rest can also contribute. Thank you.
Thank you very much. John, can I request you to mute 98014? I don't know what the name is. Colleagues, other barriers that you have experienced?
Can I say something?
Yes, Grace, over to you.
Yes, and I think another barrier is challenge on children worldwide is the challenge. They say children's rights, and when they say a child has a right to education, a right to shelter, a right to food. Of course, they're small. They can't have rights. They cannot advocate those rights for themselves. They cannot even. So there is need to sensitize this.
Yes, Grace.
But yeah. Yes, I'm speaking. My challenge is children's rights. It's on children's rights. Because the children have rights. It's a right. It's not like something they ask for. It's a right, like how you have a right to life, right to education. But then at some age, they are not able to provoke their rights. They are not able to get to ask for their rights. So there is a challenge in that, and in that they find that they are facing, they are suffering. They are taken somewhere and they are not going to school. Maybe they are taken to a rehabilitation center and they are not studying. And yet other children are in school and they cannot have that right. So there is a need to teach these children their rights from the beginning. Sensitization of the children's rights. I don't know where that one falls, but I feel there is a gap there. You've understood me?
Hello, Grace. Thank you. Yes, Erickson, Mr. Andrew. Okay.
Okay, I'm seeing several hands up. I just want to put dysfunctional families. Please contribute. They don't live to the expectations or norms of the society. So what we do is continue holding monthly forums with the caregivers to train them on positive parenting and actually outline some of the challenges that they encounter. We also try to tailor the means of addressing that from our end. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Asmero and then David.
Thank you. I don't know if it's because I see that ensuring that these child rights are mainstream with the system in that, and then it's a matter of actually linking the local to global kind of initiatives. For me, we can link this to this challenge. For example, we have the UN system. That's a framework, a global framework that governs all actually rights work and across countries. As my friend mentioned, obviously, we are operating in a very different context because there is cultural difference, religious difference, and system challenge. Some are more advanced, some are not. It sets a standard, but in terms of implementation, countries could actually differ. And then if you go to the local level, there are some initiatives going on, but they are not actually linked. The level of feedback and sharing that we have, those practices to the system to actually even improve its strategies is very low. So local to global linkage in both sides seems to be strength. It should be strengthened. That's a challenge. Weak local to global kind of linkage in terms of really materializing the UN system and then sharing the practices at the local level to the global level, whereby UN system is actually well informed and even at times can actually shape its actually, framework. Thank you.
Over to you, David, and then Yaona.
Hello, everyone. This is David, Uganda. I only just wanted to put across one thing in mainstreaming children's rights. The challenge I've seen is a lack of commitment from the duty across all levels to promote and mainstream the rights of children. In most cases, you find duty bearers at all levels are not bothered in promoting and not ensuring that the rights of children are put in every level. And this is one of the things that is affecting the rights of children. And I feel how we can do this is just to put the duty bearers together and build the capacity on their role in promoting and the rights of children and how they can mainstream the rights of children at all levels. And that is my contribution. Thank you so much. Back to you.
Thank you very much, David. Yaone. Mema Fuku, over to you. Yes, Mema Fuku. The platform is yours.
Doya, unaona green throughout ina maintain.
Yaone, the platform is yours.
Yeah.
Sio ndio tu hata ina matter for this.
We can't hear you. Okay, any other person struggling with connectivity? Colleagues, do you have any addition around the key barriers or challenges to child rights mainstreaming at UN level? And how do you think we can overcome that? Any other input?
I think, sorry.
Yes.
I think another one that found out that what can be a challenge is not making the children's budget a priority in government, in a country. I think it should come out clearly that children should be budgeted for, and we have like that clear percentage of the fund that is going strictly to the children, mostly the vulnerable ones.
Children to be prioritized within the budget. Thank you for that. Any other input?
Hello? Hello?
Yes, Kakembo.
Yes, I'm very happy to be part of this discussion. Personally, I would think that countries must use the UN days, like, or probably the international days, like the Day of the African Child, to present the manifesto, because we have seen the committee of experts, like the at AU. These people come up with very good themes, but you find that we have not received manifestos around that time of what has happened, because it's a kind of trying to review whether the policies, whether the activities have really addressed the challenges of children. But I would think that at such days, we would get like I would call it a manifesto, something to do with children. We use these international days to rethink, to redesign what has not been done, and whether what has been done has had impact on the children. Because we might not get different forums at all times, but we have to use these forums at the international level especially to come up with very good manifestos that look forward to address the challenges of children, no matter whether it is a budget challenge, no matter whether it is the management challenge. There could be several challenges, but let us use these days as the yardstick. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And just to indicate that there are some responses. Ms. Yawana could not speak, but he said child participation is still one of the challenges, so that we note that on the chat box. Yes, David, then Chagara, Faith, Yes, Faith, then David after. Yes, over to you, Faith, Ms. Chagara.
Thank you. I was just thinking in line with what a colleague has already said about priorities. I've just been thinking about the fact that there are just too many priorities, too many voices of so many things that need to be mainstreamed, and it looks like the louder voice always gets more attention. Right now, they're trying to mainstream gender issues, acceptance of too many things, and in the process of doing that, child rights is not as loud as it should be. So you find that there is limited emphasis being put on child rights mainstreaming because of conflicting voices, conflicting priorities seeking attention. And then I just kept thinking about the limited awareness at the local level. Now, there is information known at the national level, and you know, UN mostly works with the government. So they are setting up systems, but then some of these systems, from Uganda, other than the health systems, many of the other systems have not necessarily reached the ground level. So when it comes to children's rights, it's the local people who should be empowered to spread awareness about the children's rights. But again, it has also been highlighted before, limited knowledge. The children have limited knowledge about their rights and unable to demand, but also the parents have limited rights and unable to respect their rights. The government officials, the community leaders at the community level, the police, many of the people there's very limited knowledge about children's rights and how they need to honor the rights. So that is also a challenge when it comes to mainstreaming. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Faith. Peter, over to you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Peter from South Sudan. Actually, I agreed with my sister, who is the last. The important challenge here in South Sudan is that the national government has a clear policy on child rights, but the implementations at the state level and at the community level, especially at the Payam level, county level, Payam level, and Boom level, is too difficult because there is a limited knowledge on the rights of children. especially from the stakeholders. So they feel less important. It look like the child rights are not important. It look like there is a way to protect children, a way to make children more lazy, not to participate in terms of culture and all this. But in actual sense, it is because they lack knowledge of child rights. So this has become a challenge. Another issue is that the available child rights documents, especially like South Sudan Child Act, South Sudan legal framework, they are not being disseminated to the local community. And 90% of the community are living in the village, they are living in the rural areas, which is too difficult. So there is less dissemination of the information to the stakeholders, especially at the grassroots. That has become a challenge, and that is why the children are still suffering. They don't know their rights. So even if you tell the child, the child will not accept that this is his right or her right. So this has become a concern. But actually, there are few individuals who have capacity to ensure that the child rights are disseminated, child rights are protected, child rights are implemented at the community level. Like we have a recent resolution from the state parliament in Lagos State in South Sudan, one of the states. The governor and the parliament were able to enact the law that prevents early child marriage, also the laws that prevent protect the child rights, children attending school, all this. So whatever violations that are happening, the government will take lead, especially. But when, for example, if that governor is going away later on, it will still be a gap. So look, there is a need for advocacy at grassroots level. The community, especially in the rural areas, to information, access to their rights, and this is the challenge that we are facing. So there are a lot of challenges anyway, but culture and lack of implementation of children's rights, especially at the state level, has become a big challenge. Yeah, and access to information also is a big challenge in rural community. Even in urban areas, it is also difficult. It always fails in the EBS. So this is a concern actually. But in actual sense, we can see it, UN have a right to support the regional governments, maybe they can conduct a meeting with the head of states to ensure that you're able to be protected. Even some resolutions will support, and those resolutions will be taken by the humanitarian, and then they advocate for it. That will help the situation, especially the situation we are experiencing now. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Peter. Can you wrap up?
Gogomotso, may I ask you a question? It's now 15 past. I'm wondering if we should leave 10 more minutes to everyone. I know we are supposed to finish in 15 minutes. Yes. Should I inform each breakout group that we're taking 10 more minutes for the discussion?
Yes, that's great. Yes, please.
Okay, so I'll inform everyone that we go on for 10 more minutes so we don't pass the time. Thank you.
Thank you. There was Mampa something, your hand was up, but I can't see it. And also let's take note from Joseho IV Menyana's input on the chat box. Colleagues, can you go to the last question? What are your concrete recommendations for what should be included on the UN guidance that speak to Mr. Chen's right? What do you think should be included? What's your concrete recommendation? Yes, Peter. Recommendation?
Yeah. Sorry. Can I jump in and then?
Okay, Peter will come after. Yeah, you can continue as Mera. Yes, Asmero.
Okay, thank you. Just, I would like to say one thing. For the UN, the one suggestion is usually based on the country's report, the committee gives recommendations, kind of this concluding observation. And then those are very important because they are given from almost all countries that have actually signed the convention. And then the concluding observation given to each country should be taken into consideration as an experience. I know that UN is following up, I mean, all countries in the world. But if we are asking, for example, if the UN is following, mainstreaming children's rights into system, UN has those actually working procedure for Ethiopia. So the concluding observation is very critical to consider at the UN system on that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Peter, back to you.
Actually, we comment the continue, and you can see the regional block or the regional.
If you can mute yourself, we'll give you the opportunity. If you can mute yourself for now, we'll give you the opportunity, please. Continue, Peter.
Yes. So you can see the best way is engagement at the regional level, especially the head of the states should inform on the situation, how they should make sure that the rights of children are implemented. We also see advocacy at the state levels, especially at the national level, will be expanded. Especially awareness targeting stakeholders at the counties level, FIAM levels, at levels, to be able to supply the children. We can also share the communique, especially what the regional bloc has agreed. We carry that message to the grassroots level so that the communities there, the stakeholders must take the full responsibility of protecting the right of the children. This is what is the best. So we have to continuously engage the stakeholders to know how they learn.
Okay. Thank you. Jessica, over to you. Jessica? None 80104. None 8004. John, can you mute none 800104? Okay, the platform, do you have any recommendation that you want to say? Huh? Yes, please. Colleagues, any other input? What is your concrete recommendation? This is the opportunity, guys. Let's talk. Let's co-create.
Hello. Hello.
Hello. Yes, over to you.
Yeah. So I wish to recommend that we have continued sensitization and empowerment at the local level.
John, can you mute everyone is not talking?
Começou hoje. E para nós já amanhã.
Okay, thank you. I was suggesting that there is need for continued advocacy and training, especially at the local level, because we know that from the local level, these people constitute to the regional and even to the international level. So when we have that, and actually we should speak from the same page so that I know the resources that maybe will be provided from a specific organization, let's say the UN. When these people are empowered using those materials, definitely they will be able to change. Then the last one is continued harmonized way of addressing issues. We should be one as a team, so that the way we've spoken here, I'm even able to meet the members from my organization, give them briefs, share with them what we've discussed and how can that be implemented. We have even some WhatsApp forums where we normally share these updates. And at the end of the day, I know there will be a significant change in what we are discussing. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anita, just a few points from myself. One, I think, as part of the recommendation.
Ciao, ciao, buon descanso. Buon trabalho.
Joseph, can you mute, please? Yeah. Anita, one of the input from our side is that one, we should ensure that we formalize child rights education across all spheres of government, across all professions, and even for children. Like for children, if child rights could be considered to be a part of the civic education, so that all the children from primary education could be taught their rights, so that they are able to support it, mainstream their right. Also, the business that directly affect children, there should be a compulsory way that business could be taught children's rights, so that they can understand and appreciate what children's right is and are able to mainstream children's right. I think for me, those are the two recommendations. But also, I think if we can have a global standard in terms of how much should be budgeted, at least a guidance that it should not be below this, because part of the problem is that public investment in sharing is one of the gaps. So without sufficient resources, mainstreaming children's right becomes just a drain. Colleagues, is there any other input or any other input on the previous questions that you want to add? And then also, Faith has written a recommendation on the chat box, Anita, for noting. David, anything from you? Sonia, any input? Any recommendation? 98014, any input? Grace? So anything from your side? None 8014.
Hello?
Yes.
Yeah, I just want to say that the child rights as a UN body, I think it has to tag some human rights observations in supporting some of the countries, because child rights is very fundamental. And I think observance of the child rights should be tagged on some of the UN support, UN, so that they first assess how that country is observing the child rights, and then it's put on the list where the UN is going to carry out the activities. Otherwise, does it make sense to keep on supporting a country when the child rights are not given the priority? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other input? Any other input, colleagues? Yes, Andrew?
Yeah, just wanted to add something a little on that. There is need for, marching as a team, being united, so that we speak from the same platform. If we come up together, we are able to compare our notes. If we can have even a common platform of sharing information and giving updates, I think this will be very essential also, so that what my brother has just added, we are able to link up with the government. I know we have joint meetings, joint forums and trainings. From there, we engage even the directorate. We have the Directorate of Children's Services, and that is where we come in partnership with the government. So we are able to give those recommendations. So continue, working in partnership and networking is also very important. And of course, creating the knowledge hub platforms where we can receive this information and updates. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other input, colleagues? Joy, anything from your side?
Kokomotso, just as other colleagues will be coming back from the breakout groups, perhaps we would like to identify.
I just want to add one of the.
Okay, Peter, you will come. Yes, Agnes, just conclude.
Yes, sorry, just to say that we would like to identify someone to report back to plenary. But let's hear from Peter.
Yes, Peter?
Yes. We are suggesting, for example, particularly we have seen there is a gap, especially in terms of implementing the child rights at the regional level, is within the members of the region states. So I can see it is good for us to have committees that can, especially at the block, that can see reports that come from states, especially at this table. The committee should be formed in the regional states that they have to get the report and send it to the UN. That will help, and then they have to monitor the situation of children.
Okay. Thank you.
Can I add one thing?
Yeah, they have.
Yes.
Yeah,
sorry.
The committee. The committees can also.
Okay, Asman, hold on. Peter,
yes.
Are you done? Peter, are you done?
Yeah, I think he's finished, and I can say something and finish. Sorry, I was unable to raise my hands. One mechanism that the UN should take into consideration is that, for example, I mean, the UN actually evaluates countries, for example, in terms of security, CDG, and other issues, basically. And when the UN monitors countries, it should not only rely on this the traditional 5 years report, like the UNCRC, and that countries actually report, but also when the UN monitors countries, and the child rights mainstreaming should be one key agenda for every kind of monitoring mechanism of countries, because it's an accountability mechanism and all that. So it should consider that.
Okay. Thank you very much. Agnes, I've spoke to Anita just to, so Anita will be reporting back on behalf of this group. Anita, there are also more input on the chat. Please take note of them. Okay. Colleagues, any other input from all those 3 questions? If you want to add something, The first one, what are the good practices and experience at national, regional level on child mainstreaming at UN that the guidance node can take inspiration from? Or if there are still more barriers or challenges to child mainstreaming at UN level, and how do you think that can be overcome? And also, if you still have some concrete recommendation for what should be included in the UN guidance note. We still have some minute while other colleagues are joining back. We could just make those input, especially for those who never have any opportunity to say anything. Joy, I'm not sure if you say something. 980104. Do you want to say something? One of the recommendations is to intensify child rights awareness using locally accessible media. Thanks, Faith. From the chat, Anita can pick it up from the chat.
Shasha.
Hello, 980104. Anything from your side? Okay. Mampana, you had raised your hand earlier on, then you disappeared. Do you have any input to make? Do you have any recommendation or any barriers that you are aware of or want to share the experience in mainstreaming children's rights at UN level? I mean, within UN system at various levels. Joy, anything from you? Ashia? Okay, Ashia? Dushimi, anything? Peter, I see you.
Yes.
Okay, yes.
Hello.
Hi.
Nice being part of this platform. But good afternoon, everyone. I don't know whether I see it afternoon that side. Of course, what I could say, most of their points actually have been said. But I can conclude by saying that it's all about the political will for all nations, for all stakeholders involved here, as well as having provision for resources, awareness programs, and trainings. Because much as we have all these good causes, as long as we don't have that final commitment to it, we shall continue deliberating in workshops, we shall continue talking, we shall continue having all these conditions and everything, but when we really have what you can call impact on the ground. So I'm not very much different from what others have so far discussed, but all I can say, it's all about resources, commitment, and as long as our countries have political will, then we can always be in position to achieve. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Asha. And Anita, thanks for your input around overcoming cultural barriers. We've noted that on the chat box. Nosiswe Ngwenya, anything from your side? Nosiswe? Yes.
Hello. Good morning, everyone. I hope I'm audible enough.
If you can increase, no, just try harder, increase your voice, then we'll hear you.
Thank you very much. As for us, we have just joined with my group from Eswatini. So we are grateful to be part of this meeting. We actually working very, very hard towards achieving, towards the implementation of children's rights. So we do have some cultural practices that we still working on, especially with children, the girl child. So we are looking towards achieving a better Eswatini whenever we implement this child protection or these child rights. So we are expecting, a very good change as we engage with the community people, the community leaders, the legislators as well as the children at large. So we are looking forward to getting some more information from this meeting. Thank you very much.
Okay. Okay. Oh, you know, yes. I mean, Anita, thanks for that in terms of domestication of UN instrument to avoid the contradiction that normally happens as far as interpretation is concerned. So we need to harmonization of laws and standard way in terms of how we interpret different child rights instruments to ensure standardized and consistent application, because more often than not, varying interpretation of certain instruments can mislead. Patrick, anything from you? Okay, Agnes, I think it's the time to come back to plenary.
Yes, so I just informed we have a group 2 here already. I have informed the French group. The French group is coming back. The English one group needed 1 more minute, and now I'm going to inform the Portuguese group. So a couple of minutes, please.
Okay. Anita, what do you have best? Would you want to be the first to present so that we can continue helping with those taking, or would you prefer to be the last one? Hello, Anita. Madam Otieno. Colleagues, thank you very much. And once again, please make time to complete the written survey, at least if you can have it by Friday. This is a bonus time extension that we're giving you, because we really value your inputs and you don't want to leave any input outside, because this is very important for the realization of children's rights. Yes, we've noted that Mayor Mafuku more training all child participation, so that we appreciate and understand what you mean when you say child participation in a very meaningful and practical way. Anita, I'm not sure if you can hear me. I wanted to check whether
Hello?
Anita, are you still there?
Hello?
Yes, Anita, I wanted to check from you. Would you want, because you are taking notes for the main session, I want to check whether you like to present first or last. What will work best for you?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello? I'm not
Hello?
Anita. For sure, I'm not Anita.
Oh.
Yes, I wonder why my name reads Anita. But Anita is the one whom we communicated about this meeting.
Okay.
So my name is Ilgasian from Tanzania Child Rights Forum. I'm not Anita.
Okay, thank you, thank you.
Yes.
Oh, Anita? Anita? Can you hear me? Hello, Anita?
So, Kokomotso, just to say that we have all the groups back in the room. Okay. I think we're still waiting for some colleagues from the first group, but we're almost all here. So perhaps we can begin with the reporting back, if you want.
Okay, colleagues, thank you very much and welcome back. And I hope you had a very fruitful engagement. And once again, just to remind you, please don't forget to also complete the survey. I would start with the English group. Prof, I'm not sure if you are leading the English group, or Ben, whoever is leading the English group. Can you start with the English group?
Perhaps we could start with the English group number 2.
English group number 2. Over to you.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much. My name is
Yeah, you hearing me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, my name is Aldo Matias. My name reporting for English Group 2, where we had a lot of deliberation on that basically looked at the UN guidance notes and also the aspirations for. One of the things that they discussed was on the issue of the child protection policies that they appreciate UN as the guide notes are able to be given to CSOs in implementing activities. The group also talked about the issues of the child participation in child-related project activities, and this guidance has been keynote. This practice is what the group had appreciated much. And there was also a discussion on the UN documentation and guidance for UN on how CSOs can customize them in the setting, bringing about uniformity. So there's been a uniform approach since many CSOs, maybe implementing partners, have been using the UN guidance notes on implementing the activity. So this reflects a uniform approach in project in implementation, child rights implementation, in of course both local and national level. Good practices for children where child protection have been set.
Joseph, can I request you to mute everyone who's not talking?
Okay, I think I can continue from there.
Yes, over to you.
Yes. So the members talked about appreciated the issues on good practices in justice, basically looking at the Ugandan setting, whereby the government structures have been aligned to the UN guidance notes on child protection. And this had seen settings such as the Child Justice Administration, where even from the local council, they are responsibility of secretaries for children affairs that look at the rights of the children in the local community setting. Members also looked at the ideas of how CSOs are being compliant to the national standards and also the guidance. Of course, the CSOs are the lead in implementing of these child right guidance notes in the local settings. That is to say, the grassroots approach has been well established in Uganda, and this is possible through the guidance notes that has been inspired. Then there was issues on monitoring and evaluation, reporting on child practices. So these members appreciated it very well because the guidance notes were able to give the CSOs who are at the grassroots level at the rural areas to be able to use these guidance notes that is provided by UN as an international body in ensuring that child rights mainstreaming is a key idea. So these are what the members were able to discuss. Ranging to the second question that we also discussed on the key barriers and of course the challenges, we looked at this, how we can be able to avert this. Also, one key challenge that members raised was one member said there was lack of trust and cooperation between the CSOs and the government. This was the case study of Uganda, whereby many times the CSOs have been conflicting with the government authorities on how certain guidance that are elaborated in the UN guidance can be implemented. So this has been, so the government doesn't trust the CSOs. So this is a barrier the members discussed. Funding gaps and also the grassroots implementation challenges have been the key barriers that members raised through these discussion points that were able to report to this very plenary. And one member also in reference to South Africa, where they have the major challenge with the school system to actually adhere to the rights of all children with disabilities to be in, of course, individual education approaches. So this is a key barrier that members, our colleague from South Africa did point to the case reference of South Africa in implementing child rights mainstreaming guidance by UN. Members also looked at the ideas of special needs education being a barrier to, of course, the implementation as priorities in national and regional budgets have not been confirmed to make sure that these the children with disability are included in the aspects of budgeting. So many of these states have signed to maybe other protocols whereby they're supposed to prioritize these budgets. So they have not been doing so. These barriers have elaborately been discussed by the members in this group. Failed correlation on the knowledge gaps and resource gaps are also one key barriers that the members in my group were able to discuss, because we looked at the CSOs being the grassroots, because some of these needs are much in the grassroots, the rural areas. But of course, they lack knowledge and also resource in terms of finance and human resource to implement this cultural barrier become one of the key issues that, and of course, the lack of rural approaches by CSOs. Many of the CSOs are believed to be in urban settings, Yet child issues to do with child rights are very much in the rural area. So this has been one of the barriers and the challenges of ending corporate. Yes.
Joseph, can you unmute?
Okay.
Okay, yeah.
And of course, members also discussed on the challenges that Uganda has very many of these laws. One member who is a resource person in terms of Uganda's the formation of the act that ending corporal punishment did say that they're facing challenges despite the law. So it's a barrier in making sure that this comes into reality. Members also discussed on issues to do with isolated approaches of CSOs where CSOs are not working in cluster groups or they are not working in together. So many times there has been duplication, others have been failed approaches. So these are challenges and the barriers members discussed here. Last to the questions that we also had was to give out now recommendations on these ideas that were elaborately discussed by the members in this group one. Over the concrete suggestions we are giving in, of course, to be included is need to disseminate the laws regarding to child rights. So we needed that these guidance are there, but of course there's need to take them to bring them down because many times the CSOs are mainly the grassroots implementers lack actually this. So there's need to disseminate this. And then members also raised the concrete suggestion to say that there is need to have capacity building for CSOs. They realize that most of these barriers, the challenges that have been elaborated here should have been eliminated if a UN takes actually a deliberate move to empower the CSOs, maybe have a working group where the CSOs are could actually empower the CSOs, give them more knowledge and capacity building and the capacity to actually implement more in relating to child right protection mainstreaming. There is need for members requested, gave a concrete suggestion to have strengthened reporting pathways that they are saying, alluding to the fact that the guidance notes by UN have all these reporting pathways there, but there's need to strengthen them so that they are available to the CSOs and many other partners or the parties that are involved in mainstreaming the child rights. Members also, there was an issue there. We have a child held up in Uganda. Statistics from this should be included in the reporting pathway. So these are the issues members also raised in there. There was one key discussion also that the members raised on a need to increase actually the community awareness, child rights, overcome also the cultural barriers. This realize is one of the issues that could actually be a very great move to make sure that the approaches to child right protection could be enhanced because community health action in relation to the culture that we talk about as a barrier. Then members also raised a concrete suggestion that when it comes to of course, the domestication of the UN instruments, some of the national child-focused laws that contradict in terms of course, the interpretation, and of course, therefore, there is need for harmonization of such the national laws to fit to the UN international guidance that have been promoted and are legally accepted worldwide. Then members also realize that as a concrete suggestion, there is need to recognize the high percentage of vulnerable children that, of course, children with disability represent, and of course, the policies and priorities should be reflected in the planning phase, of course, in the implementing aspects of many other child-related mainstreaming child protection activities. And lastly, also the issue of can the children have the subject at school talking about their rights? That would be good to have, of course, them aware of their rights. So these are issues that the concrete suggestions members were able to raise in this very group that is group. Thank you very much. My name is Aldo. Aldo Adomati is my name.
Thanks, Aldo, and thanks for that comprehensive feedback. It really shows that you guys did justice to the exercise. And I want to believe that most of the issues other groups touch on them. So can I ask two things? One, the groups that are presenting, please, anything that has been mentioned, please don't repeat it, and try to keep your response to at least maximum 3 minutes. We are running out of time. So I'll go to English one.
English one is ourselves, Alicia Lutomia and Professor Rosling September will be presenting on our contributions and our inputs. Thank you.
Thank you. Over to you, Prof.
Very quickly and very briefly, thank you very much, Chair. The first one on best practice examples was the UNCRC reporting, as well as the African Charter on the Rights of the and Welfare of the Child remains one of the best examples, best practice examples. We need to strengthen, of course, the other reporting mechanisms such as the UPR and use them as platforms for mainstreaming children's rights. Thirdly, the practices are within the ECOWAS parliamentary processes, where there is direct engagement with parliamentarians as followed up by direct engagement with countries as working well. Fourthly, the training of parliamentarians, both on a regional level and country level, is a best practice and must be strengthened within the paper, the special guidance paper. Then the second question in terms of barriers, very strongly motivated that children's issues must not be conflicted and grouped with women's issues, youth issues, and so on, because children's agendas are very, very specific and need specific policies and programs. We all have talked about children's participation that happens ad hocly. The guidelines must include specific and systemic guidance on children's participation that is institutionalized in countries as up to from the country level up to global level. The concern around the shrinking space of civil society organization is a huge barrier to children's rights. Implementation and must be addressed within the guidelines. The promotion of child rights within the national education systems must be prioritized. Then in terms of mainstreaming children with disabilities, of course, all children are vulnerable, but children with disabilities and other vulnerable groups, such as children on the move, children working on the streets and others must be prioritized. Then thirdly, in terms of recommendations, the post-reporting processes to both the UN as well as the African Expert Committee must be strengthened. It is not enough to just report and there's no follow-up to engage the countries both from a civil society and government on a national platform where these observations can be emphasized and implemented. Strengthening child justice mechanisms within countries must be included in the guidelines. Best practice examples of how child justice must be implemented. Then parliamentary accountability for ministers and politicians that is responsible and just don't do their jobs. How do we do that? And guidance on that is important. We've already heard about the children's participation. I just want to also just include child-sensitive and child-friendly budgets. What are the minimum requirements for countries in terms of budgeting for children? And then, of course, but the issues around child rights advocacy are weak, and what is the resource allocations that must be provided in country levels. Child rights is a cross-cutting matter and must be integrated and mainstreamed through all the mechanisms of the UN. Special focal points must be appointed within the UN agencies and must be resourced as such, must be reported on. I think, colleagues, that is more. Oh yes, the one important one before I forget is the mainstreaming of a child safety or child safeguarding in all countries pertaining to the kind of abuse that children currently undergoes that is not conventional, including abuse, online abuse of children. So mainstreaming of child safe guidance is highly recommended. Thank you, colleagues. Thank you very much. I hope I was within my 3 minutes, sir.
Thank you very much, Prof, for a very brief but rich feedback, and thanks to you and your group. This is very helpful and very instructive. Thank you very much. I'm going to jump to the French group. And then, colleagues, we've got interpretation, go to the right channel. French group. And Prof and Ado, can I ask you also to email us, just as a way to place it, email us the notes. I'm going to put my email address on the chat. All what we've presented, if you've sent it somewhere, please also share it in case we miss some of the recording. I'm putting my email address on the chat. The French group, who's presenting on behalf of the French group?
Okay, so I think there is a mistake. The person that is reporting back, Anna Habiba, has now been assigned as an interpreter. So, colleagues, you cannot hear her. John, can you remove Anna Habiba as an interpreter?
Okay, let me do that.
Okay, thank you. Can you maybe go to Portuguese group while you do that? Amelia, I'm not sure if it's you. Portuguese group, if you can give us feedback. And
ok, c'est bon. Alors, je peux parler?
Ok, muito obrigada.
May I speak, Anna Habiba? Sorry, we are hearing Portuguese. Mr. Chairman, Portuguese is speaking.
Yes, Portuguese, yes. It's giving Portuguese group, yes.
No, the idea was to give the French group. The French is already ready. It is willing to speak.
Well, the French is ready already. Okay.
Yeah, they're ready. The French are ready.
Okay, French can continue, it's fine. Then Portuguese will
Anna Habiba. May I, Anna Habiba, French? Can you hear me, Mr. Chair?
Yes, I can hear you.
Mr. Chair, you need to specify French because Portuguese is still speaking. Thank you. Now, I will try. Just go ahead.
Guys, I wanted to give Portuguese because I thought it would take time for the French to be ready, but the French group is ready. So we're going to give the opportunity to the French group. Thereafter, it will be the Portuguese.
Merci beaucoup. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much. Now, good morning. I will try and be brief for the sake of time.
Donc,
we were able to discuss the issue of barriers and recommendations and best practices. We all have basically the same best practices at regional level, which is implementing public policies for child protection in the various countries where we are, and also in some countries, introduction of a child protection code. So some of the countries with these child protection codes highlighted the significance of this code in all public policies for child protection. So this would be really something that the guidelines should take into account. In particular, all countries should put in place in their various policies a child protection code. So this is one of the highlights. We also discussed the significance of this child protection code, but also the need to sensitize and popularize this code, not only at national level with the various political institutions, but also to children, to families, to household, to civil society. because even though we have the code in some countries, the popularization is still a bottleneck. Recommendations came out, many of them actually. They are all related to this issue of child protection code, accountability, and also the various monitoring and evaluation mechanisms and indicators, but we found a lot of bottlenecks. We spoke about lack of financial means. We also spoke about lack of political will. We discussed the operationalization of public policies and the need to work on implementing these policies, enforcing them in the field and decentralizing them at subnational level. And also, we discussed several issues related to specific themes, such as the issues of birth registration, which is common to all countries. We also spoke about human trafficking, and we spoke about early marriages. And another issue that came out was how do we work with children, and above all, how do we work with early childhood groups? So now the worst thing we need to do is to work on budgeting. So we need child rights-based budgeting that is participatory, i.e., all children at base grassroots level, at subnational level, at national, regional, and global level should have a say to put in place proper budgeting. We are also would like to recommend the setting up of a system of indicators based on child protection, so that various policies can really be monitored and evaluated. For that, we need to put in place an accountability mechanism. We discussed that extensively, and we also need to put in place a regional information network in order to have feedback on actions carried out in the field. When we talk about accountability, some countries highlighted the importance to have an accountability fund for the implementation of child rights and putting in place these means to carry out the various actions, and also the need for a surveillance or monitoring institution on child rights violations so that they can work jointly with the mechanism to be put in place. And finally, we are also talking about permanent representation, i.e. our recommendation would be that child participation be systematic and that we have permanent representation of children in UN bodies, not only to talk about the child rights issue, but all issues related to matters such as climate change. The various organizations working on child protection systems so that we can have real feedback on what is happening in the field, and that we can really ask.
Quelles ont été quelles sont les réussites qui sont en train de mettre en place, et puis travailler surtout sur la question des formations des groupes pairs, c'est-à-dire essayer de renforcer toute la question des formations des groupes pairs et des éducateurs, non seulement éducateurs, mais aussi familles et enfants, afin que nous puissions avoir des personnes qui puissent vraiment aider dans la question de la sensibilisation et de la vulgarisation de toutes les lois et de toutes les politiques qui sont en train de se mettre en place dans les différents pays. Voilà, je crois que j'ai un peu dit le tout. Je ne sais pas si Anita, peut-être, elle voudrait ajouter quelque chose à ce que j'ai pu dire. La dernière chose, simplement aussi, qui a été dit, et que c'est très important, c'est que beaucoup des pays avec lesquels on a été dans le groupe insistent à que les Nations Unies doivent continuer à appuyer, à plaidoyer pour qu'il y ait pour que les instruments donc des Nations Unies soient ratifiés par les différents pays et qu'on puisse mettre en place tous les outils d'opérationnalisation. Et puis, finalement aussi, et ça c'est quelque chose qui a été dit aussi par tout le monde, c'est qu'il faut qu'on continue à plaidoyer pour qu'il existe vraiment un budget participatif pour que ce code, pour qu'il y ait une solvabilité et durabilité de toute l'action qui se met en place dans le cadre de tous les projets, de toutes les actions qui se mènent dans les différents territoires. Et surtout plaidoyer pour qu'il y ait plus d'investissement public dans les systèmes de protection de l'enfance à niveau régional. Voilà, merci.
Merci. Je voudrais juste ajouter que nous voulons la COP sur les droits et le...
Can you get any interpretation, Mr. Chair? Can you get any interpretation?
Yes,
are you getting English interpretation? Okay.
Il faut que les Nations Unies organisent la COP sur les droits et le bien-être de l'enfant. Merci.
Merci, Anita.
Merci. Joseph, can we get interpretation? We struggling with French. Thank you very much, the French group, for very valuable input. Merci beaucoup. We really appreciate your input. We'll move now to the Portuguese group. But Joseph, can you ensure that we get the interpretation working? Interpretation has been switched off. Can you help us to ensure that we get interpretation correctly? Over to the Portuguese group.
Obrigada e boa tarde. O grupo elegeu como boa prática a participação da criança e foram elencadas aqui experiências como, por exemplo, a participação das crianças. Sim, a participação da criança no processo de elaboração dos relatórios que são submetidos tanto às Nações Unidas e à União Africana, também há experiências.
The group has been highlighting the importance of alternative report and
Estamos a falar do Parlamento Infantil, que é o órgão que representa as crianças e tem essa ligação entre as crianças e o governo. Também produz, portanto, relatórios anuais.
Amelia, can you hold on? Colleagues, interpreters, can you help us with the interpretation? It says it's switched off. Colleagues, can we get interpretation? If your interpretations are good, I'm fine to compromise in the best interest of time. I will always struggle with interpretation. The Senja, I see your hand. Mayanga, I see your hand.
Hello.
Joseph, can you help us with the interpretation?
Kokomocho, can we try once again for Amalia to speak and see if the interpretation in Portuguese works?
Okay, Amalia, you can continue.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Práticas de participação da criança dizia que as crianças têm participado na elaboração dos seus relatórios e submetem, portanto, aos organismos das Nações Unidas e também da União Africana, reportando aquilo que é o seu sentimento em relação à implementação da Convenção dos Direitos da Criança e também da Carta Africana dos Direitos e Bem-Estar da Criança.
Group has emphasis on the importance of alternative report and child rights reporting to the child rights mechanisms, including the African Charter, CRC, So, as best practice, there is example in Mozambique of elaboration of annual reports with civil society, child rights annual reports, where the children can participate and are consulted. at the parliamentarian level, there is also quite good experience in Mozambique related with the child parliament, and that has been a platform of dialogue where children can express their rights along with the government.
Aquilo que são as suas preocupações aos seus padrinhos. Padrinhos são aquelas pessoas que apoiam as crianças. É pacote de apoio às crianças desfavorecidas.
So mentorship programs have been particularly good practices where children, particularly vulnerable children and marginalized children, can be consulted and hear. And peer-to-peer experiences where children can support themselves and speak out on subjects, issues of their concern. Regarding challenges, obviously, we've been in our country very limited when it comes to natural disasters. It's been having a big impact on the realization of children's rights, particularly in remote areas. And it's conducting to a series of problems of exclusion, particularly. The fact that public services and child protection services particularly are not always available at local, municipal, professional level. And many children that use those disabilities do not have necessarily access to that services. So there's a lot of challenges regarding quality of education, health, and in some part of the countries, we've been particularly affected by conflict, as you know. And obviously, children have their rights totally denied on these areas, in this area.
Ainda na questão dos desafios, temos aspectos culturais que, de alguma forma,
we also have some social norms, and the question of civil restoration remains an issue in our country that we need to tackle. So work on the need in terms of sensitization, community awareness regarding the importance of civil restoration.
Por outro lado, também entende-se que apresentar fraca colaboração a nível do.
So we can also mention the lack of collaboration, coordination in the region between some governments. In terms of recommendations, and so importance of capacity building, the importance of access to information for communities, for adults, for civil society, for children.
Os mecanismos de participação da criança.
Of strengthening the child participation mechanisms. We recognize that there have been some progress on that aspect, but we need to be more inclusive related child participation mechanisms.
No nosso caso, Moçambique é país corredor.
And as you know, our country is a corridor for sexual exploitation, child labor towards the country, and particularly to South Africa, and how we can strengthen the cooperation at a regional level and ensure better coordination mechanisms when it comes to child protection.
Diz a respeito às crianças, programas virados às crianças, é preciso que haja investimento específico para
Obviously, the question of public investment is of utmost importance.
Educação, sobretudo,
that includes component education
para as crianças,
particularly for the children with special needs.
Tanto educação pela paz dentro das escolas.
We think that's the importance to include
instituições e
governo. Education
sobretudo
into the education programs at school, but also for adults.
Nutrição crônica que tem tanto altas alarmantes, assim como também ao HIV/SIDA e outras doenças de
Obviously, also public investment in health, since we are a country where there's still a lot of food insecurity, health issues that affect children.
Da criança e a proteção da mesma. Portanto, de forma resumida, essas foram as questões que foram.
Here are the questions and issues we've been discussing. Thank you.
Obrigado. Thank you very much, our colleagues, for very valuable input. We've got the last group, which was a mixed group, but I want to check with Anita whether, because we don't want to repeat things that people have said, and as far as listening, most of the things has been covered. But Anita, from your end, is there any specific issues that were not covered that you want to raise from the group that remained in the main chat?
Hi, I can add just 1 or 2 points. From question 1, I would love to add the point of case study of Ethiopia and South Sudan, where they say they're working with the government to advocate for children's rights and make sure that all sectors are accountable and responsible for implementation. On question 2, a lot has been said, but I'd like to add a point by one of our participants who said that we should utilize international forums and international days, such as the Day of the African Child, rather than just having a celebration, to have a manifesto and reflect on progress, see how far people have come, and then prioritization of children issues. As a challenge, it was highlighted that children issues are not usually a priority, as there are very many conflicting issues across all levels. And then parenting, I think that was mentioned, that dysfunctional families and poor parenting pose more challenges to the children themselves and undermining of children's rights. And the number 3, I think almost all of it have been said. And just to add that to increase civic education on children's rights, that sometimes children themselves do not know their rights, so they can't demand for the implementation. So it's good that children issues are included as civic issues, and then to involve children themselves, families, communities, CSOs, NGOs, government, business as well, and the media in implementation of children's rights, so that there's cohesiveness and collaboration. Thank you. Standardization of laws was mentioned. Yes, thank you. Okay. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Thank you very much, colleagues, for very rich information based on experience and concrete recommendation. I'm going to hand over to Agnes just to do closing remarks. But before that, I just want to make a few announcements. One, the Children's Consultation, colleagues, is taking place on the 15th October, this coming Saturday. and we want all colleagues to help us to mobilize children from each region. At least if we can have 20 children per region, that would be highly appreciated. Please reach out to us, the CSO Forum Secretariat, and then let's make that arrangement so that we can reach out to at least 20 children per region. And also for the Arabic consultation, please reach out to us so that we can give you the information. The second announcement is the survey. We'd like you to complete it by this Friday. It's very important to complement the information that we have shared. So please, let's do that. We'll share the link once again if we have missed it or something happened to it. And lastly, just to remind all members of the CSO Forum and those who have interest that from the 18th to the 20th of November, we'll be hosting our 21st CSO Forum session in Lesotho, Maseru, where the African Committee of Experts is based. So this is an open invitation if you're interested to be part of that important session from the 18th to the 20th November under the theme Child Rights and Environmental Situation, how to promote children, digital environment, how to promote children's rights within the digital environment. So we invite you, it will be very interesting and informative. Agnes and colleagues, thank you very much for this collaboration, and we'll communicate what are the next steps after you've guided us. But once again, thank you very much, and over to you for closing remarks.
Yes, thank you, Gogomotso. So I don't want to take much more time from all of you. Just a big thank you to CSO Forum for all the coordination for an organization of this consultation. A big thank you to the interpreters for all the support during the consultation today. The next step is that all the outcomes from today's discussion and the other consultations that we're doing in the other regions, as well as the outcomes through the survey, will be compiled, and this will inform the first draft of the guidance note. The draft of the guidance note will be made public for everyone to be able to provide comments. And after those comments, there is going to be a final version ready next year, early next year. So these are the next steps. As Gogomotso was saying, please take a look at the survey if you want to provide more information in writing, support children engaging in the consultations that are coming up. Tomorrow for the children Arabic speaking, and on the Saturday 15th for French, Portuguese, and English. And then once the first draft of the guidance note is available, we will share it for all of you. So in case you want to contribute to the second stage of the consultation process, which is commenting on the guidance note. Thank you so much. Thank you for all the wonderful contributions, and let's stay in touch. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you very much. Amelia from the Portuguese group and the French group, if you could also share your notes.
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Thank
Merci
you.
beaucoup.
Thanks, Richard. Great work.
Merci.
Thank you.
Bye. Au revoir.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.